We begin with the Mets, still potentially in need of a starting pitcher with Kodai Senga being out. Will, you wrote today about the Mets and Michael Lorenzen. What is the latest there?
So I'm sorry for Mets fans who are hungry, really hungry for an addition, any addition for this club, but this is just due diligence for the Mets right now. That's all it is, due diligence. Unfortunately for you Met fans who really want something more out of that, that's all I can report on that front. David Stearns last week, or a few days ago, I should say, when Kodai Senga went down with the shoulder injury, said that they weren't really going to make any additions. He didn't think so, at least, for pitching. I tend to believe him. However, I did hear that if they had another injury, then maybe they would tap into somebody like a Michael Lorenzen.
I mean, I'd hope so. If they had another injury, you need somebody to throw some pitches here from the starting rotation. I'll tell you this, honestly, I see your report, I hear Michael Lorenzen, I'm like, man, wake me up when it's Jordan Montgomery. All right, Hannah, do you think the Mets here should still be looking to add a starting pitcher, even with the idea of going over that luxury tax threshold?
Okay, so I read Will's story, and I had the same reaction you did, which is, if you're willing to add another pitcher if there's another injury, why not add that pitcher now and push your team potentially into the postseason, or certainly into a better position to potentially make the postseason? I think this is the exact same argument I made last week about this, but I'm going to make it in a slightly different way. Okay, we're talking Fangraphs projected WAR here. The Mets position players projected to be 9th in WAR amongst all teams. That's postseason caliber. Their relief pitchers projected to be 12th. That's on the bubble, but postseason caliber. And you had this stat in your story, Will. Their starting rotation is projected to be 24th. That's a problem. That's where you need to add if you're looking to sort of push your team one way or the other. And just if you do like some really basic math and look at what Jordan Montgomery, let alone Blake Snell, who's projected to be better than Montgomery, if you look at Jordan Montgomery's projected WAR and just add it right to their starting pitching totals right now, and it's not like he's bumping anybody because they don't have 5 legitimate starters right now, that would move them up to 5th. 5th in starting pitcher projected WAR. That's a 5th in pitchers, 9th in position players, 12th in relief pitchers. That's a postseason caliber team. So why? I understand that it costs money, but the money is spent to get to the postseason, and it's not like you have to be a postseason caliber team before you spend the money to justify spending the money, because spending the money changes your projections.
Also, Montgomery could be a part. He's the guy I want. I don't want Blake Snell. I want a Montgomery before. I understand they're not going to go out there and get him, and I understand why, but Montgomery will be here beyond just this year. It's not, oh, well, let's go try to salvage this year with Montgomery. No, you're going to need arms anyway moving forward. He could be a stable force. But anyway, we'll see what they end up doing. Let's make the call to the bullpen and welcome in Jim Duquette. You know, Jim, as we mentioned here, Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery still out there. Should the Mets go after Jordan Montgomery in your mind?
Well, I had to check in on this just to see if they were. So far, I'm not getting any read that they are at the moment. I mean, Montgomery's going to end up being a multi-year contract. It's going to be five years or more. Still, they're looking at what Aaron Nola did as a comp. So that's the Scott Boras group that I think, even though they don't try to show their cards, that's where they're pointing towards as a comp from this winter. And, when you start to look at that this year, obviously with the luxury tax penalty, be double. Whatever his salary is this year, let's say $20 million, to be $40 million on their books. Now, I'll use the argument that Hannah's talking about. It is only money. It is money that they sunk into the team from last year, that they from trading, Verlander and Scherzer, that's on their books, that's pushing their number up. But there doesn't seem to be any indication on that level. I think, though, with Will talking about what he was saying there in Lorenzen or Clevenger or somebody like that who's a lesser expensive guy, I think they need somebody. I would hope it would be Montgomery, but I'm concerned about Senga. You never know not only when he's supposed to come back, which is somewhere in middle May, but there's all sorts of issues that you have to be concerned about as the season gets going, because that shoulder, right now, as we know, is having some issues after the PRP. So there's no guarantee, not to depress yourself, there's no guarantee here that Senga, once he comes back, he won't have a similar type injury, a re-injury, or some other issue with the elbow. So they need protection. They shouldn't be in the business of giving up this season this year, and it really hurts their chances if Senga isn't going to pitch all that much.